Rusty, let's lead this thing off, though, talking a little bit about what folks want to know and what's on the mind of everybody. And that's that first fall scrimmage, man. Georgia wraps up fall scrimmage number 1. The good news, in my opinion, sounds like everybody kind of came out unscathed, maybe a few bumps and bruises, as you said on the board, I believe, but nothing too impactful outside of that. But Dogs get out there, mix it up. Just curious, we won't give it all away. You got to come over to Dawgs HQ for that. But I'm curious, what can you tell the folks listening into the Georgia show this evening about what you've been hearing coming off of this one?
Be excited about Nate Fraser. Nate Fraser was the number 1 running back in the country last year for, I believe, on 3. Number 1 running back in the country for several places. He was either number 1 or number 2 out of modern day in California. And that was kind of Dale McGee's going away present. We'll give you this 5-star running back. And, the buzz early last week was kind of, because he wasn't early enrollee. He didn't get there till late. He got there late May. So they didn't get a chance to see him spring ball. I think he ran track, did all this stuff. And, so you look at the kind of the buzz out of there, and I asked somebody yesterday at scrimmage, and I was asking some notes and trying to get some things real quick up for Dawgs HQ, and I said, after a 10-minute conversation, the person's telling me everything. It's kind of going and going. I said, hey, listen, if I were to put you on TV right now, and you had one person to talk about, who would you talk about? He said, no question, Nate Fraser. He goes, Nate Fraser is different. He goes, we've got one here. So that's good news, man. That's good news. Georgia, I felt like, I'll just be honest with you, Georgia has had a good group of running backs. They haven't had that alpha guy. They haven't had that one. They haven't had that one that absolutely scares the pants off of you. James Cook, I think, was the last guy, and just kind of banged up through his career. At moments was elite. He's having a really good NFL.
I was thinking Swift.
Swift was the most consistent home run threat. You know what I mean? Like you had to. Swift scared you in the passing game. All that stuff. He could break tackles. Yeah, that's a better one.
Your Nick Chubbs, your Sony Michel, your Todd Gurley's. It's been a minute. It really has.
Well, yeah. Well, you got spoiled because all those guys were together. You know what I mean? Like it was like, all right, we got 2 juniors that are about to leave, but these damn 2 freshmen we got, these are the next 2. And then you go to Chubb and Sony, and you're thinking, oh yeah, we got Swift, we got this young buck coming, and kind of had that space, you know what I mean, in between that. But I'm telling you now, I don't want to put too much on Nate Fraser, but the people I talk to that's kind of building a long time, he gives them some Sony Michel vibes. You know what I mean? He's got home run speed, catch a ball. They say that he can catch the ball out of the backfield, is what really, really gives you some issues.
Yeah, you go turn on the tape, man. Back in those high school days in modern day there, that's what you see. And what I loved about him too is this is a guy you see it's not often that you see what they did with Nate Fraser, which is essentially a split backfield, and maybe the other guy even had a little bit leg up in the Jordan Davison kid. So Nate Fraser is coming in with a lot fresher legs than somebody of his caliber might when it comes to the collegiate level. So pretty much, like I said, an interesting tape to go watch. If you haven't seen Nate Fraser's senior highlights, go turn them on. I think you'll understand what Georgia had in mind when they added him to the fold. Other than that, Rusty, we'll talk a little bit more about some of these freshmen, but I'm just curious, we're, full week and a half, 2 weeks in on this thing now. I mean, any other names kind of picking up a little bit of steam early on in this thing, man?
Repeat that question, because we got some stuff going on here trying to get it.
Well, we're trying to run.
I got communication. Between all y'all. Yes, I'm gonna turn my phone over and repeat that question.
No, what I'm saying is, we've heard a lot of buzz about Nate Fraser. We'll talk about him in a little bit as well. We've heard a little bit about another freshman name that I think is going to interest some people.
Yeah, you can read that one on Dawgs HQ. Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about, though, we're a week and a half in on this thing, roughly 2 weeks maybe on spring or on fall practice. I'm curious, Who else is kind of picking up a little bit of steam over the course of this time? Who's really kind of when you talk to them, you're consistently hearing the names?
That's a great question. I mean, I don't know when you say picking up steam. I think people are doing what you expect them to do.
Right.
There's we got a lot of veteran starters. You know what I mean? Got a lot of guys there that, have played a ton of reps. I think this is a very important week. This is the week you start separating things because, Roos, if I'm correct, school starts Wednesday. So when school starts Wednesday, that means they go to the 20-hour week. That means they're going to check out of the hotel. Okay. They're only going to be there 2 to 3 hours a day now. So each practice, each meeting is going to mean that much more. Then you got that big second scrimmage next Saturday. Because once this one's over, Roos, this time next week, Georgia staff is going to be meeting and they're going to have a depth chart and they're not going to say it publicly, but they're going to start prepping for Clemson. They've already done the off-season work. They're going to say, okay, this is who's available. This is who we think can help us. Right. This is who we're going to prepare to take to Atlanta for that game. So we're really a week. You got 1 week to make a move if you're a new guy. You know what I mean? I do think right now that Nate Fraser, I'll tell you this, a guy that I haven't mentioned much, and I haven't mentioned him on Dawgs HQ yet. He didn't have a great spring. I'll just be honest with you. He did not have a great spring. I was hearing things like, oh boy, this one, not sure. But I am told the last 3 weeks, including the first 2 weeks of practice, and then from about mid-June on, Nitro Tuggle has the switch is kind of turned on from him now. I don't know that he's going to crack the actual rotation right now against Clemson, but I do think he is showing some signs of, okay, this is why we recruited him. This is what we thought we were high on him. And this is why we went to Indiana to get him. And that would be really good news for him and for Georgia at wide receiver, for him to kind of be able to give them some depth, some of those things that go in. So I haven't mentioned that one on Dawgs HQ yet. I was going to one of my notes for tomorrow, but Nitro Tuckle has shown some things the last couple of weeks that really is good news, I think, for Georgia down the line. It may not be good news for Clemson, it may not be good news for Alabama in September, but down the line, you look at a young wide receiver that had really just struggled during the spring, and looks like the lights cut on for him pretty good.
You mentioned this week being so crucial for these guys, and definitely it is. I mean, like you said, leading into the second scrimmage, and then the page begins to turn. The focus begins on the season. I'm curious from a veteran standpoint, is there a name that you're watching over the course of this next week, keeping some strong eyes on?
I think it's going to be Arion Smith, and I would say Julian Humphrey. Does Julian Humphrey take that other corner spot? You know what I mean? Is he going to start right now? Daniel Harris is a guy. They're all battling for these positions right now. And, does Julian Humphrey take that spot opposite of Dalen Everett and kind of lock that up for early on that way? So, we'll see, this week. But I think when you look at, you guys know, man, I'm going to ride the Arion Smith train till he's not in Athens anymore. I just think this guy is different. You know what I mean? He's not a natural ball catcher. He tends to catch balls with his chest. I know the NFL is going to pick him apart. He's got to get better on that. But explosive, top end speed, just in and out of breaks. I mean, he's got all the tools. He's just got to work on some of his things. But I think that Arion Smith can be a guy that, Arion Smith, Roos, might end up one of those games where he's like 8 for 145 and 2 touchdowns and then not catch a ball the next week. You know what I mean? Like, he can absolutely be a nightmare against you. And I just feel like he's going to have one of those games. I think he's going to have a really good year, but I think he's going to have one of those games. It's not going to be just a 75-yard touchdown and you don't see him again. Yeah, I think Arion Smith is going to have one of those games where you go, that's who we all think he is. That's who he should be. And the better he plays, man, for Georgia, it's just he's just different, man. I have had a chance to watch him run routes. He worked out with a guy, one of the trainers in Atlanta, about a year ago, and I didn't know who it was coming out there. I was watching some high school kids, and I was like, "Who in the hell is that dude? That's a jackrabbit." They're like, "No, that's Arion Smith." I was like, "Never mind." When you see that dude coming out of breaks and how smooth he is and how quick he is, how easy he runs like that, that really never left me. Like, this guy's different. So, I'm going to ride that train, man. I think he's going to have a big game this year at some point. I think he's going to have a good year for Georgia.
Yeah, and just add such a different element to any offense. I mean, not just Georgia's. You plug that guy into anywhere. Listen,
Yep.
he could play for anywhere in the country because of his speed. Like you said, is he a natural ball catcher? No. Bay Megan down here says, I tend to think the issue with him has been between the ears, confidence.
He's had some drops.
Seemed like he had the yips last year for sure. Absolutely,
Yep.
man. He couldn't get it right. I think, though, you've talked about this at length. Mike Bobo spending so much time with this guy. The staff devoting to Arion Smith and saying, look, man, we believe in you and you change the offense when you're a part of it. I think that that's huge, man. I think that he is a guy who really, really shifts the narrative. And like you said, it won't surprise me to see a game where he's able to deliver for him in a big way and really just put people on notice of, oh, we got to prepare for that every week. And I say that knowing full well, you better prepare for him every week. Clemson is when he walks onto the field, they're going to know where 11 is every time. Absolutely.
And the thing about him right now is, like, he's that guy. When you come in there, like, okay, he's about to go vertical on us. You better have your butt ready to turn and run. He's going to go vertical. Well, if you're Georgia, if you're Mike Bobo and James Cole and those guys, you want to be able to get him in the route tree, get him into running everything because we all can watch a game. And when you see 11 in the slot, you're like, oh boy, they're about to throw one deep. And I'm telling you right now, they'll throw one deep on you. So, you want to see him run those crossing routes, those in routes, those dig routes, anything that he can get in and out of breaks and cause separation, because he's elite, man. But I don't want to spend 20 minutes on him, but I'm telling you, I'm still in his corner. I still think this dude can be a difference maker. And, this is a big fall camp for him. And this is a big week for him, in my opinion. But Georgia definitely needs him. They need him in a bad way, because you can get X and O wise here real quick, but you start talking about knocking the top off a defense and occupying a safety's eyes. You put 11 in there and let 11 cause you some issues.